I've come to Brooklyn, New York, home of independent game studio iNK Stories, to get a tour of their space, but to more importantly talk to the founders about the powerful game they created, 1979 Revolution.
When you're 10 years old and you're out on the streets with your grandfather because he wants you to see what's going on, you can feel that sense of hope and that possibility in people that things could change, that their world can become better.
1979 was a year of many notable worldwide events. The USSR invaded Afghanistan, sparking a decade of war between the Soviets and the Mujahideen. Margaret Thatcher was elected as the first female prime minister of the United Kingdom. Some tiny companies called Activision and Capcom were founded, and Michael Jackson was taking the world by storm with his album Off the Wall. 1979 was also a time of unrest in Iran, which manifested in the appropriately called Iranian Revolution. A couple of months back at E3, I heard about a game covering this extremely sensitive topic. After trying it out, I had to learn more.
I started off as a film student, then made my first film, and very naturally kind of got involved with gaming, primarily with Rockstar. So I was there for multiple years. Started off as the kind of cinematic director on GTA 3, and then as Rockstar kind of exploded onto the scene, I was fortunate enough to be one of the guys sitting in the car going for the ride.
A lot of bang for your buck.
And then I left Rockstar and actually totally made a right turn. I went off to make documentaries, and that's how I met my partner, Bessie. And we did a documentary called Pandemonium, and then we did another one called Pulling John. So that combined with my gaming experience, compared with my personal background of growing up in Iran, led to 1979 Revolution, which is our latest and greatest project that's out there right now.
See why I told you to save your film? This is incredible. My part is taking pictures, not choosing sides.
Can you talk about your personal experience with the story and like how that your personal experience being in Iran sort of affected that?
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, when we initially thought about this, Iran wasn't even in the picture, to be totally honest with you. We were taking a look at what was going on in the world around us. I think for all of us here, gaming resonated as really being able to have an incredible impact because you get to really experience it. And we also noticed that there was a little bit of a pushback actually from the traditional big publishers because they were concerned about the reality aspect of it. It could be very, very controversial. You know, the game got banned in Iran.
Right.
And so for me,
crazy.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you would make a game and then have an entire government
say no? I didn't think so, but it's not the first game I've had banned. You know, I've actually got a couple under my belt. So, but with the Iranian government, I don't even know if it's the government as it is the Video Game Commission,
right,
banning the game. It made me think that I got to get this game in the hands of more people, and we're getting tons of feedback. People are like, "Don't worry, we're ripping your game." I was like, "No problem, you know, go to town." But we did it in Farsi because there's also the language barrier. Like, if this is a game about Iranians, and we've gone to the umpteenth level to make sure it's accurate, we've down to the point where every actor, every voice is of an Iranian background. For us, it was like, we got to follow through with this and actually do this in Farsi and then see what kind of impact the game could have as people are experiencing it, not just in Iran, but I think also amongst the diaspora.
Delving into the deep and murky cultural and political waters of the Iranian Revolution is not a task that the team at iNK Stories took lightly. Navid's partner Vassiliki explained to us how she used her background in anthropology to inform their extremely careful approach to being true to the time period. So you mentioned earlier that your background is actually like in anthropology.
Yes.
Can you talk about that and how that has influenced this experience?
Sure. So my background is in visual anthropology. I studied both film and anthropology. So I really have a strong grasp of the process of ethnographic filmmaking, which is like documentary filmmaking. And what I really gleaned from that process and was able to bring to 1979 was the research, right? Really painstaking effort in research and bringing primary sources, really allowing different people's voices to be represented in the game.
Yeah, it seems like quite a task to do the research, which is one part of it, but then to take that and then enact it into an experience that people can connect with. There are certain female characters in the game that I think are really important. You guys are breaking a lot of barriers with this game. We're talking about religions that maybe people are not necessarily comfortable with, or characters who are in places where they're maybe not normally.
You know, when you're trying to do something new, you're also working against the conventions of an industry.
Right.
And so even when you're working with professionals who are the best of what they do, they're still conditioned to work in a certain way and design female characters to look like this, or to behave like this, or quite often to play this role. And so even in creating the 3D model, we were, the number of times we had to iterate and continue to iterate to say, like, no, we don't want this like busty Lara Croft.
Okay.
She's, you know, she's got to be a little bit more dynamic than that.
And a man who has endured persecution and torture for his vision of a free Iran. I am honored to share this stage.
Saw you at PAX, and you were part of the PAX 10, which is probably really cool.
It was great. I mean, being at PAX 10 was when people were coming directly to the tables where we were with the other games, kind of part of the PAX 10. And, you know, like people are coming up like, hey man, I heard about this game. And one guy was like, I was at the Humble Bundle party last night. I heard about this cool game. I had to come and check you out. So the fact that there was like this little, that there was a flagship, you know, PAX 10 kind of group, and people were seeking us out. And that's really what, you know, when most people hear about a video game about the Iranian Revolution, it's pretty much going to get thrown to the back of the room. What allows us to kind of transcend that is word of mouth, the awards that we've been getting, and the fact that we're also getting embraced by just different groups.
So you said something earlier that I think was really cool, that the game is being used as a case study for something. Can you just like talk about that?
Yeah, so the game is being presented in a paper as a main case study by UNESCO, and basically the person that did it is saying, can digital games, can digital experiences actually be the key for a conflict resolution? So, you know, going back again, we're making a video game. There's no way we're thinking it's going to go down that path and it's going to be embraced like that. You know, you make something and then people take it and they own it and they take it in different directions. So the game's now being used in schools in Norway, and it's being used in schools in Canada, here in Brooklyn,
right,
you know, in Washington. So, and everyone's kind of got their own ideas, their own agendas, how they want their students to interact with it. And we're just excited that something that we kind of created is being kind of not just recognized, but is actually being kind of manipulated to work in all these other different kind of formats.
The current climate right now, and just politics, culture in general, we're talking about where people are standing in front of millions of people and talking about Islam as being really bad, and just by inherently being bad.
It's interesting because, like, in the present moment of like Islamophobia and the rhetoric that's kind of being thrown out there, we did two things. We built a game that focuses on a revolution that led to the first Islamic state in the world.
Right.
And then at the same time, we allow you to go into the game and experience and actually be able to pray and get a breakdown of how you pray within Islam. You know, there was definitely some concerns when we wanted to put the prayer aspect into the game. And not only do we get super aggressive and say, this is what we're gonna do, and that we also made it actually a part of one of the critical choices that you make if you decide to go down that path.
What's like next for you guys?
No, so I mean, we're really excited about pushing this medium. So we want to do a follow-up to 1979. I think the story deserves it, and I think the story has it in it. We've seen the seeds of the revolution, and we've seen the aftermath. Now we just need to see the culmination of the revolution, that moment in between 1979 and 1980. So we want to definitely do that. So that's in the works.
I hope you guys keep pushing this idea of trying to subvert the narrative that's been out there. I feel like that's like a common theme, and it seems like that's where you're going.
Thank you.
It's been great hanging out with you today.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. All right,
Cool.
Thanks,
Cheers.
man.